Welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Stella Inamiti, and my sign language interpreter is Anna Olayinka. Now highlights of the news. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu unveils partnership to eliminate cervical cancer in Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima says federal government to train and empower 20 million young Nigerians with digital skills by 2030. Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, visits Niger State, donates 20 million naira. The federal government has renewed its partnership with UNICEF to train and empower 20 million young Nigerians with digital skills by 2030. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the hint during a meeting with UNICEF officials at the presidential villa. State House correspondent Abdulrahman Jibrila reports.
How are you? Good to see you.
The Generation Unlimited Nigeria, an initiative aligns with the federal government's Renewed Hope agenda, which prioritizes inclusive development, digital innovation, and youth empowerment as tools for national transformation. Vice President Kashim Shettima has accepted to chair the board of Generation Unlimited Nigeria, a public-private youth partnership platform constituted to help young Nigerians between the ages of 10 and 24 transition from learning to earning through digital connectivity. He stressed that Nigeria is not seeking handouts, but sustainable, equitable partnerships.
This is why I'm very passionate about these digital initiatives. Beyond leadership in our own enlightened self-interest, if we want to live in this patch of the world, we have to involve them. We have to empower them. So from learning to earning is a beautiful initiative. And honestly, more than any other platform, the digital space gives us the easiest window to get the youth engaged.
The Vice President described the initiative as a beautiful program that would enable the Nigerian youths trade their skills in the global market.
This go beyond UNICEF. It embraces the overall mandate of the United Nations and the support we have. And also it touched and resonates so well with the Renewed Hope agenda. And I thought that maybe I would lead the delegation and provide my support. And as we take it from here, we'll be along the team in this journey of supporting young people in Nigeria.
Youth engagement and youth empowerment. The core of everything is how do we make Nigerian young people fit for purpose for the job market? Because globally there is a mismatch between the curriculum that are being taught and what is actually required in the job market. So this is an opportunity to break that dichotomy.
Since its launch in 2022, Generation Unlimited Nigeria has impacted over 10 million young people with 1,500 jobs linkages already secured, and to reach a target of 20 million youth by 2030. The stakeholders must strengthen coordination among partners and align closely with national policy. From the State House, Abdulrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Keen to turn the table against the silent killer of women in the country, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has flagged off a new campaign, Partnership to Eliminate Cervical Cancer in Nigeria, PERSON, as a strong coalition that will scale down the scourge among Nigerian women. While unveiling the logo of the campaign at the banquet hall of the presidential villa, the First Lady notes that meeting the 2030 target on eliminating cervical cancer requires strategic and collaborative action.
As well as healthcare professionals, must all prioritize women's health. Also, as schools and education institutions need to be champions of immunization. In addition, it behoves on our religious and traditional leaders to advocate for truth and science. And yes, funding and a lot of resources is needed. That is why through the Renewed Hope Initiative, RHI, we have committed 1 billion naira to this effort. I call on all our state governors, business leaders, and development partners to join in supporting this laudable initiative. Together, we must invest in a future where no woman dies from a disease that is preventable.
As governors, we are not just supporting this initiative in principle. We are prepared to work. Therefore, on behalf of the 36 states of the Federation, I formally endorse this initiative and affirm our commitment.
Country. Under the Renew Hope agenda, 6 cancer centers of excellence are being established, one per geopolitical zone, to provide comprehensive cancer prevention services, diagnosis, and treatment. 3 of these centers are now ready for commissioning, while the remaining 3 will be commissioned on or before February 2026.
But when we invest in healthcare, there is a return on investment. And in addition, the infrastructure that we are going to put in place for cervical cancer will be the same infrastructure that we are going to use to treat prostate cancer, breast, all other cancers.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says no preceding government has achieved what the Tinubu administration has achieved within 2 years. At the 2025 forum organized by the Voice of Nigeria, stakeholders were unanimous that national unity and citizens' trust are key to achieving national security. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
The forum, with the theme Renewed Hope Agenda, Citizens' Engagement and National Security, showcased the new vision and direction the Voice of Nigeria, under the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, is exploring non-kinetic approach in fighting the lingering insecurity.
Together, let's amplify Nigerians' truth, strength at home and across the board. And the Voice of Nigeria, like we have shown today, we are ready and we are good to go.
As community leaders, I am here just to pledge our commitments towards providing continuous support to what security agencies are already doing.
Those kind of brief and feedback from the DSS, from the police, from the security agencies has actually enlightened and also helped us to ensure that we reach the people as quick as possible.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation acknowledged the initiative as among critical policies as it drives to protect the nation's integrity through responsible media engagement.
We are not saying that the security situation in the country has been fully resolved. Certainly not. But there is a clear indication that there is progression in the management of our security system. And for the first time, more in a long time, we are seeing a heightened coordination between all members of the security forces to ensure that all of us can sleep in our houses. We know that there are challenges, but we must appreciate Nigerian Armed Forces, the security agencies, for the work that they do.
Stakeholders were unanimous that peacekeeping in Nigeria is a task for all.
The journey to national security is not a sprint. It is a relay, indeed a collective relay of trust, vigilance, sacrifice, and leadership.
Border management is very critical. I've had countries, because of the level of insecurity they had to fence their borders. Can we start thinking of fencing our borders? We have 1,500 kilometers with Niger Republic, 1,900 kilometers with Cameroon. Chad is there. All over us, surrounded by Francophone countries, and the Sahel is heating up. Gentlemen, if we don't do anything, when the Sahel falls, it is Nigeria that everybody is interested in.
It's a challenge for all of us to find a way of telling our story in the right way, in the right perspective.
Citizens should be engaged to support the policies to counter the propaganda of the bandits.
Among its repositioning efforts, Voice of Nigeria has established more units and is expanding its international broadcasting role with additional 4 new languages. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
In Niger State, the search and rescue efforts for flood victims in Mokwa local government area are now focused downstream of the River Niger. The State Emergency Agency says they are utilizing divers and fishermen from the riverside community to gather information about missing persons and to assist in recovering bodies. Since the incident, approximately 159 bodies have been recovered and buried, while many individuals, including children, remain unaccounted for. Figures released by the national and state emergency management organizations indicate that 503 households and 264 homes have been affected, resulting in the displacement of 3,018 individuals. Victims are gradually receiving assistance and support from the government and various organizations. However, heavy traffic in the town is hindering the movement of humanitarian aid to those in need. Meanwhile, the wife of Niger State Governor Fatima Umar Bago has paid a condolence visit to flood victims in Mokwa, donating 50 million naira to support those affected by the devastating floods that ravaged 2 communities in the local government area. During the visit, the governor's wife expressed deep concern over the tragic event, emphasizing the need for measures to prevent future occurrences. Fatima Usman reports.
The devastating flood in Mokwa that left about 200 people dead with scores missing, governments at all levels and individuals are making efforts to cushion the effect of the tragedy through provision of relief materials. It is in the face of this that the wife of the Niger State Governor, Fatima Umar Bago, accompanied by top government functionaries, paid a condolence visit to Mokwa to sympathize with the people of the affected communities, where she made a personal donation of 50 million naira to support the victims.
Only advise them to be cautious henceforth, going forward, to avoid building on waterways, because these are some of the things that causes this kind of havoc to happen in this magnitude.
The grieving victims were very appreciative but asked for more.
We need your help, because even me, myself, I had not saved with anything. Even shoe, hijab, nothing. Because many people lost their life. Our house, some people, our house, the people that lost their life, there are about 16 people. And our property, they have already gone. And whereby some people are stealing our property.
All we want from the government, provide them with material like mosquito nets, all this medicine, but all these are not there. You can see when the rain season, where the mosquitoes are everywhere.
About 200 people reportedly lost their lives in the last Wednesday's flood, while more than 3 million people are displaced. I'm Fatima Usman, NTA News.
Similarly, the former Anambra State Governor and presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the year 2023 presidential election, Peter Obi, has donated 20 million naira to the victims of the flood disaster in Mokwa, Niger State. Obi announced the donation when he led a delegation on a sympathy visit to the government and people of Niger State at the Government House, Mina. Mukhtar will report.
The Labour Party presidential candidate in the last elections, Peter Obi, condoled with the government and people of Niger State over the flood that ravaged some parts of Mokwa town. He emphasized the state's importance in agriculture and suggested exploring ways to mitigate future disasters.
I've made my own personal contribution. It becomes critical that all of us hold hands together, ensure that those families, as they go through this difficult time, do not feel the pain alone. It is all of us. We've lost our own brothers, sisters, and children.
The Niger State Governor, represented by his deputy, described the flood as a national catastrophe. and appreciated Obi's visit and donation.
Niger State alone cannot handle this issue. We need those international and national assistance for us to address the immediate needs of these episodes.
Similarly, the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, represented by the Director General, Niger State Babana Border Development Agency, Muhammad Garbat Alladi, expressed condolence and placed a donation of 1 trailer load of food items to support the victims. In Mina, Mukhtar, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. We'll be back with more news after this break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. The recent devastating flood in Mokwa in Niger State was not caused by the release of water from either the Kainji or Jeba dams, but was primarily caused by heavy rainfall owing to extreme weather conditions occasioned by climate change. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Telun, who clarified this at the press briefing, also issued a warning to the 31 states to brace up for possible floods. Usman Zubairu has more.
The Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency had previously issued warnings about potential flood in Mokwa and 18 other local government areas in Niger State in its 2025 annual flood outlook release. According to the forecast, 1,249 communities in 176 local government areas across the 33 states and the FCT fall within high flood risk zones, while 2,187 communities in 293 local government areas face moderate flood risks. This Mokwa flood event is a stark reminder of the increasing impact of climate change on the environment and the water system. According to experts, the flood was primarily due to the heavy rainfall driven by the extreme weather conditions associated with the climate change, which overwhelmed Mokwa drainage capacity. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, while briefed on the incident, dismissed claims that devastating flood in Mokwa, Niger State, was triggered by the release of water from the Kanji or Jaba dams. He assured the public that both dams remain intact and safe. The one came widespread speculation linking them to disaster, which claims lives and displaced many residents.
That the railway serve as a barrier which allow the water that is coming from the dinghy as a result of excess rainfall to accumulate. And when the excess water becomes enormous, then it overflows the railway that causes that flooding. Taking note of possible measures that will be put in place to avert future occurrence.
For adaptation and mitigation, stakeholders are advised to use NISA flood forecast dashboard to guide proactive measures. State and local governments to urgently strengthen their drainage infrastructure, relocate communities from flood-prone areas, increase public awareness campaigns, and enforce land use regulation to stop encroachments. Osmansberg, NTA News.
Global early warnings for all, community-centered approaches and innovation, as well as strong partnerships to make early warning a reality for all, are key takeaways from the World Resilience Recovery Conference of the ongoing 2025 Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction in Geneva, Switzerland. NTA's Mina Daniels anchored this global event and now reports on its key takeaways.
Only a few days ago, Nigeria witnessed another round of flash floods in Mokwa, a community in Niger State. It was an episode that took several lives, displaced hundreds, and resulted in billions of naira in economic loss.
Our efforts are hampered by lack of investment in resilience building. Our experience so far is that many of our partners tend to support provision of immediate humanitarian needs as opposed to recovery and resilience.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, you sure will agree with me that the data Her Excellency just reeled out is indeed very alarming, once again underscoring the urgency of resilient recovery. All All right, the next speaker is Mr. Kamal Kishore, Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for Disaster Risk Reduction and head of UNDRR.
What is it that disaster-affected people want? What are their aspirations? What are their entitlements according to government policies? Where do they go with their grievances? How do you strike a balance between recovery at the level of a household and recovery at the level of community?
These are interventions on how the world can achieve resilient recovery from disasters like that witnessed in Mokwa, Niger State. The World Resilient Recovery Conference is a critical component of the Earth Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction, which seeks to encourage actions for strategic and inclusive recovery from disasters. In Geneva, Switzerland, Minna Daniels, NTA News.
And in other matters, Germany's Annalena Baerbock has been elected by secret ballot as President of the United Nations General Assembly at its 80th session. Kolo Mohammed has details.
In accordance with established regional rotation, the President of the 80th session of the General Assembly is to be elected from Western European and other states group. The President of the 79th session of the General Assembly, Philemon Yang, said it is fitting that in this milestone 80th year of the General Assembly, leadership should go to someone whose career has been defined by an unwavering commitment. The vote, conducted by secret ballot at the request of Russia, was seen largely as a formality. Baerbock was the sole candidate of the one-year position. Baerbock obtained 167 votes, securing a strong mandate, receiving nearly twice the number required to win. She will assume the role as several wars grind on around the world. In other news, Iranian, Egyptian and UN leaders met in Cairo to discuss the Iranian nuclear program after a UN nuclear watchdog agency said Iran is further increasing its stockpile of uranium enriched to near weapons grade level. Rafael Mariano Grossi, Director General of the Vienna-based International Atomic Energy Agency, said it compiled its report published by the Associated Press over the weekend indicates that Iranian uranium enrichment is an ongoing concern for the IAEA's Board of Governors. Amid negotiations between the Trump administration and Iran over a potential nuclear deal, reports say Israel is preparing to attack Iranian nuclear facilities. Grossi stressed the need for further negotiations at a joint press conference. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
Humanitarian agencies have pledged to support Benue State in tackling crisis in the state and to ensure that internally displaced persons return to their ancestral homes. They stated this during a visit to Governor Hyacinth Alia at the Government House, Makurdi. Charles Abba reports.
It was a visit by representatives of the United Nations for Refugees and Internally Displaced Persons, development partners, non-governmental organizations, the civil society organizations, and others. They empathized with the state government over the numerous humanitarian disasters being faced in the state and commended Governor Hyacinth Alia for deploying result-oriented measures in tackling them. The partners also disclosed their intention to do an independent study to draw global attention to the humanitarian crisis in Nigeria with focus on Benue State.
And we are also working with the private sector to create a zero collateral, low interest loan for agri-farmers, agri-businesses and other businesses that are set up here.
We will jointly go out there, mobilize resources and see what we can do differently. It's not an easy task, it's very challenging.
Governor Hyacinth Alia, who appreciated the support of various partners to the state, especially lauded the UN for its interventions.
Its support has further strengthened our internally displaced persons coordination, the provision of humanitarian assistance, in addition to enabling us to commence the implementation of the Durable Solution Plan.
He maintained that more strategies and plans have been made to quell emerging crises in various communities of the state. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Inherited blood disorders advocates are pushing for comprehensive coverage of all kinds of blood disorders in health insurance schemes nationwide. This call emerged from a high-level meeting of inherited blood disorders advocates from across Africa, which took place in Abuja. Salwa Khalil Ibrahim reports.
Until Nigeria gets it right with sickle cell disease, the global body would not get it right.
Sickle cell is one of the most common inherited blood disorders, with Nigeria bearing the highest global burden of the disease. Approximately 150,000 newborns are affected annually, and an estimated 6 million people in the country are living with the condition. Aliyu, a warrior turned advocate, has been battling sickle cell for 32 years, highlighting the challenges many face.
You can't imagine, it's unimaginable pain. I have undergone total hip replacement, which each and every sickle cell patient knows about it.
In Nigeria, access to treatment is a major issue, with cost being a significant barrier. To address this, the Global Action Network for Sickle Cell and Other Inherited Blood Disorders, in collaboration with Sickle Cell Nigeria, is leading the advocacy.
And that's the reason why we are asking for National Inherited Blood Disorders Day in every country, so we can have the awareness, visibility, and get more policy makers to have empathy around these disorders.
They need to have expert care, and it's expensive, and they pay out of pocket. They should be treated free. Those are the kind of laws that we want, laws that make sense.
And that's where advocacy comes in. Honestly, we cannot achieve much, if anything, without strong advocacy, both by the larger community and the community of patients themselves.
We need to stand up and speak up so that government can allocate more funds to addressing these two conditions in our country.
For better support and treatment for millions of people affected by sickle cell, thalassemia, hemophilia, and other inherited blood disorders. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, NTA News.
And that's the news on NTA International. Thanks for watching. I am Stella Inamiti. My sign language interpreter is Anna Olayinka.